My name is Snitkin, and I'm the moderator for this session. And thank you, Alex. What I have here is just a presentation. The way the session's going to go, I have a little short presentation just to kind of frame the topic for this session. Then after that, we will have Justin Kozar come up and give a presentation, and then Matt Jastrom, and then we'll invite all the panelists to come up and we'll have a panel session. So let me get started. I wish I could see this. I'll stand here. It's right there. What I have here, if you were in the workshops yesterday, you'll see we have this model at ARC that describes cybersecurity. We call it the Cybersecurity Maturity Model. But what I'm using it for is just to frame the issue. We talked a lot yesterday about technology solutions, which are on those steps. I don't want to take the time to go over it again. I'm sorry if you didn't see it yesterday. But anyhow, it's a series of steps of how you should implement cybersecurity, and it's a technology. But the big issue that we see, a big issue, very big issue, is people get ahead of their headlights. And when I say that, if you look at the steps, and if you look at the terminology there, that's basically different kind of technologies that are used to accomplish certain goals like securing devices or defending, containing, managing, and anticipating. But it's technologies on the steps. At the top, though, is I show the kind of resources you need to sustain those technologies. The more complex the technologies, generally the more issues you have in maintaining it. And the research I do, talk to a lot of end users, I talk to suppliers, that's what I do. I'm paid to talk, and as well as right now, apparently. But what I think the world is today is if you look at those two black lines there, the one on the right is the amount, where the people are with technology is probably right about at the next to the last step. A lot of people have invested in technology with the hope that that solved the problem. And then after they did it, they found out, well, no, I need people to keep that technology going. And across the top is the kind of resources that one needs. And if you go from left to right, you'll see it increases in sophistication and numbers. And where we see the world today is to sustain the technology that many people have. You have that slot, that black arrow on the right. That's about where it should be. You should almost have a full-time ICS cybersecurity, some type of group. What a lot of people actually have is the one on the left, which is, it's generally managed by a lot of plant personnel who have a lot of other duties, so they run out of time. And in between is what I call the security gap. It's a very serious issue, and what's happening is the defenses of plants and other kind of infrastructure and things are eroded because we're really not sustaining the things we bought, so people aren't getting the value. Now, the reason I'm mentioning all that is what our session is about today. This portion is, come on, there we go. So that's the issue, is do you have this resource gap? And if you think about what can you do to address that gap, you know, there's a couple things. First thing you want to do is kind of reduce the workload. I mean, one of the problems, like I said, is we have work for 20 people and we have 10 people to do it. So what we end up doing is doing everything halfways. One thing is you need to say, what if we can reduce the amount of workload that the people have to do? And you can do that by saying, let's focus our resources on the key things that I have to do first, make the basics work, and then worry less about the more sophisticated stuff. You can improve the efficiencies of the groups by giving them tools to use, which is the focus of this session. Or you could go and hire additional resources. And if you look, the second one is the focus of this session. It's about security management, what I call cybersecurity management solutions, and I'll define that in a second. And then the session we have tomorrow is on managed services and security operations centers and things like that, where you're starting to leverage external resources to provide that extra workload for you. So that, you know, you can solve the problem with either of those things, or both of those things most people need. And if we talk about, so that's the solution, and then one of the things, let me go back one thing here, I'm sorry. I want to go back right there. Notice the blue line across the top there, I forgot to mention that. That's what I call cybersecurity management solutions. It's a set of solutions that go across everything to help you maintain. And that's what we're talking about in this session. And if you look at, we actually do market studies. I have a market study on cybersecurity management solutions. And if you look at the solutions that are out there today by different suppliers, and these are ones, when I say that, I really should say, and I do say it there, industrial cybersecurity management solution. It's not just a collection of tools from McAfee, which is good. I'm not criticizing that or anybody. But they may or may not work in an industrial environment. So these are tools that are custom designed or adapted in ways to make them work well within an industrial environment. And the kinds of things that you will find in those solutions, and they vary by the suppliers, is you'll find that there'll be some kind of a management dashboard, security management dashboard, which gives you a way to launch things. It gives you an overview of all of your assets. And it'll have, as usual, you have little charts and things that'll tell you your vulnerabilities and the status of things like that. But it's a centralized place where you can get to managing all of the cybersecurity technologies that you have. It'll include what I call security maintenance support. One of the issues with staffs in plants is they don't have the cybersecurity expertise themselves. They might be brilliant engineers. They like being engineers. I was an engineer. They like being engineers. But they don't have quite the skills that are needed to be a cybersecurity expert, nor do they want to have those skills with many of them. So this is a set of tools that help people do those, to overcome that issue, to help that make life easier. But they include other functionality too, which I'll mention in a minute. Usually they include some kind of remote security management solution. And when I say that, because if you're going to need to have external support, you have to have a secure way to allow people to access the things they have to maintain remotely, okay? Often they may have something for incident management, which is something that enables people remotely often, or even if they come in the plant, to really look at what happened, to look at the SIMs and do stuff like that to get the access to the information that they need to isolate and remove the intrusions if it's a cyber event. And then at the bottom, I use the word NERC compliance support, but there can be all kinds of different compliance support. But it's tools that help people. Compliance is a major issue in certain industries, certainly in the power industry. And it's tools that help to get the data collected in a way that makes it easy to do the reports. I don't know of anybody that actually produces the reports today. I may be wrong. But it helps to collect the information in a way that makes it easy to do the reports. Now, that's the kinds of solutions that I see when I talk to suppliers, when I talk to end users, and I say, what kind of solution, what do you want? And generally, they want solutions that, number one, that support non-cybersecurity people, okay? So it's supporting, I focus on the control engineers because that's usually the ones I find that do a lot of the maintenance support. They also generally want one solution that is agnostic, that can support multi-automation suppliers, products. That's a major issue in most plants. Many plants have many assets, automation system elements from lots of different suppliers, as well as something that can, ideally, this is the ideal, as well as support different vintages of that product, not just the latest product. A lot of people, and actually one of the most popular things I think is support for asset inventory, to actually go out and do an inventory of all of the cyber assets that you have. And when I say that, it's to collect and say, these are the assets I have, as well as this is all of the configuration data within that asset and things like that. What else do I have? Oh, a solution that supports both local and remote access. I mentioned that a moment ago. And now that's what I would say is the ideal. I'm sorry about this microphone. That's kind of the ideal. To be honest, I look at all these different suppliers and solutions, and they all offer lots of functionality. I don't know if anybody covers every possible thing. I think that would be unrealistic to expect that from them. But they are distinguished. Many of them cover many things, and they all are trying to broaden their base, I would say. This last slide, I just put this up. If you remember, I used this slide in the workshop yesterday. I'm very happy. This was a slide of the sponsors for our forum over at the showcase. And the ones in that blue box, the one that, I have that blue, I don't know if it's a box, but box with curved edges. Those are ones that are cybersecurity focused companies specifically. And what I've done here is highlighted the ones that I think provide cybersecurity management solutions. So if you're interested in what we're talking about here, I suggest those are the ones you might want to go and talk to when you're over there. As well, notice I also highlight all the automation companies. The automation companies, Often they don't, some of them produce their own products. Some of them use products from other suppliers that they have integrated into their own systems and they have certified and validated. So I consider the automation companies as providing a lot of cybersecurity technology, even though they may not be the original designer of it or manufacturer of the product.